Hello everyone. In today's video I bring you an impressive story that will stir your emotions. Let's meet Abigail Winters, a woman who, after a near-death experience, received powerful revelations about the future of humanity. What she saw on the other side will leave you speechless, including a transformative vision of 2025, a pivotal year for the Earth and all of us. So, before we start, leave your like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any content like this. Get ready for a journey that will make you reflect on our connection with the planet and the future that awaits us. Seattle has always been my home, a vibrant and lively city, especially in the late 80s, when the grunge movement began to emerge and art flourished in the streets and galleries. This was where I, Abigail Winters, balanced my life as a single mother of 3 and managing an art gallery. Despite the chaos of everyday life, I found joy in my routine, until that morning. The first sign came with the cloud. I woke up feeling something different, like the air around me was charged. I looked into the corner of the room and there it was, a white, pulsing mist, as if it were alive. I blinked several times thinking it was my tiredness, but the cloud remained. It must be the sun coming through the curtains, I muttered to myself. I got up, trying to ignore her, but she seemed to follow me wherever I went. That morning, as I prepared breakfast for my children, the feeling grew. The cloud was there, floating in the corner of the kitchen, almost watching me. I covered it up, pretended I didn't see it, but it was impossible to ignore it completely. I woke up Maggie later, my best friend and confidant, who lived in an apartment next door. I explained what was going on, expecting her to laugh and say I was just stressed. A white cloud, you say? Maggie raised an eyebrow, her expression mixing curiosity and concern. This could be something spiritual. Have you been feeling anything different emotionally? I shook my head. Nothing. I'm just tired, I guess. Maybe it's more than that, Abby. Have you considered seeking spiritual guidance? A meditation group could help. The suggestion seemed absurd. I was skeptical about these things, but as the days passed, the cloud didn't disappear. On the contrary, he seemed to be increasingly present, more insistent. I began to feel a growing uneasiness, as if something was about to happen. Finally, after a whole week of living with the fog, I gave in to Maggie's insistence. There's a group at church that meets to meditate and share experiences, she said. It won't hurt to try, right? Reluctantly, I agreed. Maybe it was just the accumulated stress of life, or maybe it was something much bigger than I could comprehend at that moment. The church sat on a quiet Seattle street, surrounded by tall trees that swayed gently in the wind. Maggie took me there on a cool spring morning, assuring me it would be a relaxing experience. Nothing much, she said, smiling. Just take a deep breath and let it happen. I was uncomfortable from the start. The atmosphere was welcoming, but something in me felt constantly alert. The dark wooden walls, the well-aligned benches, and the absolute silence only increased my anxiety. A group of women had already gathered, sitting in a circle on simple chairs, with candles in the center, their flames flickering as if dancing to the rhythm of inaudible music. Maggie squeezed my arm gently. Are you well? Yeah. I just don't know if I'm the meditation type. I sighed, but sat down, determined to at least try. The group leader, an elderly woman named Helen, guided us in a calm, engaging voice. She talked about letting go of your thoughts, letting your body relax and opening up to the energy around you. At first, everything seemed normal. My breathing began to slow down, and I felt a lightness come over me. Then, everything changed. A sharp pain shot through my chest, as if dozens of invisible knives were piercing me at the same time. My body stiffened, and my breathing became labored. Abigail, Maggie screamed, rushing to catch me, but I was already falling out of the chair. The pain was unbearable, but what came next was even stranger. I felt my body move away from me. I saw Maggie and the other women panicking, while I floated above them, watching everything. My vision was crystal clear, but I felt no fear. On the contrary, it was as if a wave of calm was washing over me. Suddenly, the scene changed. I was no longer in church. I was in a dark and infinite space, where a white light shone in the distance. But before I could go towards it, something pulled me back hard. A stern-looking man, shrouded in shadows, appeared in front of me. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice rumbling like thunder. Your time is up. I tried to react, but I was paralyzed. It was then that another figure, shining like golden lightning, appeared between us. He raised a sort of hammer or scepter, and in an instant, the shadowy being disappeared in a flash of light. "You are protected," the golden figure said, his voice soft but charged with authority. "Now, there's something you need to see." My vision went dark, and I felt my body being pulled somewhere else. When I regained consciousness, I was in a place that was like nothing I had ever experienced. It floated in an infinite space, where everything seemed to be made of water and liquid light, gently undulating as if driven by music that could not be heard, but felt. Every particle around me radiated a love so deep that my heart seemed to expand with every second. "You're safe here." The voice broke the silence, but it didn't come from a physical place. It was as if it were speaking inside me, at once warm and authoritative. I looked around and noticed the golden figure again, hovering before me. He was immense, made of pulsating light, and his presence emanated both power and tranquility. "Who are you?" My voice sounded strange, like an echo without a source. I was scared, but curiosity was greater than fear. "I am a guardian. I am here to guide you on your journey. There is much you need to understand about your life and the purpose you carry." His words were serene, but loaded with meaning. Suddenly I felt something different. There was no longer Abigail, the single mother, the artist, the world-weary woman. I wasn't just a person. I was part of something vast and indescribable. I could feel my connection to everything around me, every wave of light, every movement, every thought. I was part of an infinite web of universal energy and creativity. "What's happening to me?" I asked, even though I already knew I was no longer on Earth as I knew it. "You have been disconnected from your body so that you can understand truths that you cannot see while trapped in matter." He reached out a hand made of light, and the instant I touched that energy, I was flooded with visions. I watched my entire life unfold like a movie, but this time through a completely different lens. Simple moments I had never valued, my children's laughter, the smell of fresh paint in my gallery, the gentle breeze on a hot day, now sparkled like precious jewels. Every moment, every gesture, was interconnected with a greater purpose. "Why am I seeing this?" I asked, tears flowing, even though I didn't know if I had a physical body at that moment. "Because the earth is bound to you just as you are bound to it. What comes next will be deeper, but you need to understand that first. Are you ready?" I just nodded, as the environment began to transform again, taking me to the next stage of this surreal journey. When the environment around me began to change, I felt an indescribable lightness. The space of liquid light dissolved, and I soon found myself in an entirely different place. It was like being inside something immense, but at the same time safe. The air seemed to pulse with an energy I had never experienced before, as if space itself had life. It was inside a ship, but it wasn't something that could have been built by human hands. The floor was translucent, emanating a soft light that varied between gold and silver. The walls seemed to be made of liquid crystal, changing shape and color as I walked. A gigantic being, at least 8 feet tall, stood in front of me. He was made of light, but his silhouette had defined, almost human features. "Welcome, Abigail." His voice sounded directly in my mind, without the movement of his lips. "I am your guardian, and this is the Watcher's ship." Before I could respond, he extended a glowing hand toward a hologram that appeared in the center of the room. It was Earth, but not as I knew it. The planet seemed alive, pulsating, with a vibrant energy that spread in multicolored waves. There was a connection between everything I saw: oceans, forests, mountains, even human cities. "She is a living being," said the Guardian, referring to the planet. "You call it Earth, but it has many names in other parts of the galaxy. To us, it is known as the Jewel." I approached the hologram, almost instinctively. When I reached out my hand to touch the image, I felt a wave of emotions invade my being. It was as if I could feel the Earth itself, its joy, its pain, its weariness. I saw flashes of forests being devastated, oceans choked by pollution, and animals disappearing. But I also saw moments of hope: children planting trees, communities caring for each other, people fighting to protect what's left. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked, tears streaming. "Because you need to understand the role of humanity. You are not just inhabitants of the Earth, you are its caretakers. But you have failed. There is still time. But the moment to act is approaching. The Guardian continued. 2025 will mark the beginning of a great transformation. It will be the moment when the choices of your species will determine the future of the planet. You have the potential to elevate the Earth to a new level of existence, but only if you awaken to your responsibility. I remained silent, processing the enormity of what was being revealed. Then he gestured for me to follow him. Now, there are others who need to talk to you. Before I could respond, I felt my body being gently pulled towards a new room within the ship, where I would meet the Watchers. As I walked through the translucent corridor of the ship, the light around me seemed to pulse, as if the structure itself were alive. I was soon led to a large room, where the space dissolved into something that defied all earthly logic. There were no longer visible walls or floors, just a dark expanse dotted with stars. In the center floated a monumental building, a temple made of brilliant white columns, reminiscent of Greek architecture, but with a lightness and ethereal glow that made it completely unlike anything human. "Welcome to the Temple of the Watchers," the Guardian announced, his voice reverberating within me like a distant echo. "Here, universal truth is protected and shared with those who are ready to receive it." I felt my body being taken, as if I were floating, towards the stairs that led to the temple. There was no gravity, but I still moved forward smoothly and steadily. At the top of the structure, several beings of light were gathered, each radiating a different color, as if they were beacons of energy. Their forms were humanoid, but their presence transcended any physical definition. A figure of blue light advanced. His energy was calm but authoritative. "We are the Watchers. We watch and protect, but we do not interfere. Earth is one of the most precious homes of life in the galaxy. Its beauty and complexity make it unique, but it is in danger." Another Watcher, radiating golden light, added, "The balance has been disrupted. Humanity has forgotten that it is connected to Earth, and its actions are destroying what has been carefully woven over eons." I looked at them, taking in every word but unable to fully comprehend the magnitude of what they were saying. "So why am I here? What could I do? I'm just one person." "You were chosen because there is still time, Abigail," said the Golden Watcher. "While we are always vigilant, the fate of the Earth is in the hands of its inhabitants. The year 2025 will be a landmark year. The choices humans make in the coming years will determine whether their planet flourishes or falls into oblivion." Suddenly, images began to form around me. It was as if the universe itself was telling a story. I saw scenes of a vibrant future where humanity lived in harmony with the Earth, and at the same time, glimpses of irreparable destruction if we continued to ignore the signs. "You carry a fragment of the universal light," said one of the Watchers. "Your mission is not to save the Earth alone, but to inspire others to awaken. What you have experienced thus far has been a training. Your art will be a bridge to touch the hearts of many." With those words, the temple began to dissolve. "It's time for you to continue," said the Guardian. "But remember, the power to change the Earth's destiny lies in love and unity. Nothing is stronger." The light around me shone brightly, and I was enveloped by an energy that transported me to another place inside the ship. The light around me seemed to intensify until everything disappeared, leaving only a feeling of weightlessness. Soon I found myself in a new room on the ship, completely different from the previous ones. It was circular, with walls made of liquid crystal that seemed to contain entire constellations. In the center, a figure stood out. The Guardian was there, with a serious but compassionate expression. "Abigail, the journey is almost over," he said, "but there is something you need to understand before you return." Before I could ask what he meant, he extended his hand, and the Earth hologram reappeared. But this time, it wasn't just a planet. It pulsed, glowing like a living heart. I felt the deep connection with the Earth again, but this time, something else emerged. My heart sank when I remembered my children's faces, their smiles, their laughter, their childish fights. "You're thinking about them, aren't you?" asked the Guardian. I nodded, tears streaming down what felt like my face. Even though I wasn't completely sure I still had a physical body, "I can't leave them. They need me." "Exactly," he replied, with a tone of understanding. "Your love for them is a reflection of universal love. They are your anchor, your reason to return, but they are also a part of the mission you carry. What you have learned here is not just for you, but for everyone who crosses your path, including your children." The scene changed again. I was transported to a smaller room where several female figures of light were gathered. They wore outfits that seemed to be made of celestial fabric, shimmering with colors that blended together in a hypnotic pattern. One of them approached me and placed a kind of sphere of light in my hands. "This is the gift of white light," she said. "It will help you reintegrate into your body and bring clarity to your mind. But know that returning will not be easy. Many who go through this feel out of place, as if they are carrying the weight of two worlds." I wanted to ask more, but I knew time was running out. The sphere glowed in my hands, and in an instant, I was enveloped by an energy that seemed to both push and pull me at the same time. Suddenly, I felt an impact. It was like I was thrown back inside myself, and the weight of my body hit me like a ton. I heard voices around me, doctors, nurses, and the constant sound of machines beeping. "She's waking up," someone shouted. I opened my eyes, blinking against the fluorescent hospital light. My chest hurt, my head was spinning, but I was alive. The tears flowed uncontrollably as the magnitude of everything that had happened hit me. I was back, but something about me was irrevocably different. The first thing I noticed when I opened my eyes in the hospital was the weight of my body. After floating in dimensions of light and love, being back felt strange and uncomfortable. My breathing was heavy, and my limbs felt like they were made of lead. Still, I was there, alive, with the sounds of the physical world, machines beeping, nurses, hurried footsteps, grounding me back to reality. "You gave us a scare, Abby." It was Maggie, sitting next to my bed. His eyes were red, and his face held a mixture of relief and concern. "You were in a coma for 3 days. The doctors don't know how to explain it, but you're back." I wanted to tell her what had happened, but the words wouldn't come. It wasn't for lack of will, but because everything seemed so beyond human understanding that I didn't know how to begin. He just smiled slightly, shaking his hand. Over the next few weeks, as my body recovered, I realized something else had changed. My senses were heightened, almost as if I could take in more than before. I could feel emotions from the people around me, almost as if their energies were visible to me. Once, when Maggie was about to visit me, she knew something was worrying her before she even opened her mouth. "You look different," she commented, frowning. "Not just because you've been through it, but because it seems like you see things no one else sees." She was right. Something inside me had awakened. Dreams started to come, but they weren't ordinary dreams. They were visions, pieces of a future that I didn't fully understand. I saw people coming together in communities, caring for each other and the planet. But I also saw moments of darkness, a wake-up call that if we didn't act, we would lose everything. It was on a quiet afternoon while painting in the gallery that I finally understood my mission. My brushes glided across the canvas almost automatically, creating images of forests, oceans, and skies full of life. It was as if something bigger was guiding my hand. My art became my portal. Each piece I created carried a message of love, responsibility, and unity. Customers who previously came looking for something decorative began to become silent in front of the screens, as if they felt something deeper. One of them, a businessman, told me, "Your paintings, it's like they're talking to me, like they're asking me to change." It was then that I realized that my mission was not just to create, but to inspire. Each work was a reminder of the connection we share with the planet and each other. It wasn't just about me or my experience, it was about all of us together, awakening to something greater. Every day, I felt the urgency increase. 2025 was approaching, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt that that year would be a turning point. I didn't know exactly how, but I knew that my role was to help people prepare, to find the same light within themselves that I had found. The years following my near-death experience were a roller coaster of transformation. My psychic abilities, awakened upon my return, continued to grow, as did my art and the connections I made with people. But there was one thing that remained constant, the vision of 2025 as a crucial milestone. I couldn't avoid the dreams. They came more intensely as the year approached. They were not just dreams, but fragments of a future that seemed within reach, depending on humanity's choices. On some nights, I saw communities living in harmony, cultivating the land and helping each other. In others, I witnessed chaos, floods, fires, destruction caused by negligence and selfishness. On the morning of January 1st, 2025, I woke up with renewed purpose. It was as if something in the air had changed. I remember looking out the window and seeing the sun rise with an intensity that felt new. my chest filled with a feeling I could barely describe. Hope. My gallery, which previously only served as a space for art, became a meeting center. People came to hear stories, exchange ideas, and share their own spiritual experiences. It was as if the Watcher's message was spreading through every interaction, every picture that hung on the walls. Then, at the end of March, something extraordinary happened. I was leading a small meditation workshop when I felt an overwhelming energy fill the space. It was as if time had stopped. My eyes closed involuntarily, and I was immediately transported to a state that I could only describe as interdimensional. There, I saw the Guardian again, surrounded by golden light. "It's now, Abigail," he said, his voice echoing inside me. "The signs we have shown you are beginning to manifest. You must help others recognize what is happening. The transition has already begun." When I came to, everyone in the group was looking at me with wide eyes. "But you were glowing," said one of the contestants, her voice shaking. "It was as if you were made of light." Word spread, and more people began looking for what they called the message. I was not a prophet, nor did I want to be seen as one. My mission was just to awaken people's hearts to the universal love and responsibility we all have for the earth, and the signs began to appear. The whole world began to feel changes. Collaborative movements grew, communities came together to face environmental crises, and even those who were once skeptical began to talk about something bigger happening. Deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. True transformation would take time, but 2025 would be remembered as the year it all began, the moment humanity was given a chance to rewrite its destiny. As the months passed in 2025, something remarkable began to happen. It wasn't just external changes, like growing environmental awareness or strengthening collaborative communities. There was also an internal change in people. It was as if something invisible was touching human hearts, awakening them to a deeper reality. My visions, which previously came sporadically, were now more frequent and clear. One night, while I was in my studio, a vivid image took hold of my mind, the earth being enveloped in radiant white light, pulsing like a star. Around him, millions of filaments of energy connected every human being, every plant, every animal. It was a glimpse of the fifth dimension, the heightened state that the Watchers had mentioned. In one of those moments of clarity, the Guardian appeared again. This time, he was not alone. The Watchers accompanied him, their vibrant lights creating a visual symphony. "The process has begun," said the Guardian. "Earth is crossing an energetic threshold. This does not mean everyone will awaken at once, but those who choose the path of love, unity, and responsibility will feel the difference. The planet is aligning with a higher vibration. Your mission, it's about helping people understand and accept that. But how can I do that?" I asked. "I'm just a woman with brushes and words." "That's enough," one of the Watchers said, his voice calm but firm. "Transformation is not a grand event. It begins in small gestures, in conversations, in acts of love. Your art touches hearts, Abigail, and that is how change begins." As I came back from this meditative state, I realized that I was already seeing the evidence of the transition all around me. People who came to the gallery talked about feeling an inexplicable peace or about changes in their lives, like letting go of resentments or reconnecting with nature. Many people asked me what was happening, and I cautiously shared parts of my experience. At the same time, I began to notice challenges. Not everyone was ready for the change. There was resistance, both within the people and without, as if a part of the old world was fighting to maintain its dominance. I saw friends and acquaintances facing personal crises, while their own energies aligned or resisted the new vibration. However, the fifth dimension was not a physical place we would go. It was a state of being, and those who chose to live with empathy, care, and responsibility were naturally falling into this flow. I noticed it in the small moments: a mother reconciling with an estranged son, neighbors collaborating to create a community garden, or even a stranger's expression of relief upon receiving a simple smile. The entire planet seemed to be in a delicate balance, where every human action could tip the scales toward light or darkness. It was a cosmic dance, and each of us had an essential role to play. As I walked through the garden behind my house one morning, I felt something inside me shift. It was as if the earth itself was whispering, "You're ready," said a soft voice in my heart. From that day on, I knew that my mission was just beginning. but I also understood that I was not alone. Humanity was slowly moving towards the fifth dimension, and although the path was long, it had already been taken. All we had to do was keep walking. The golden light of the rising sun illuminated my house that morning, and as I looked outside, I noticed how different everything looked. It wasn't just the world that had changed, it was the way I saw it. The trees seemed more alive, the birdsong more melodious, and even the air seemed to carry a vibrant energy that I had never noticed before my experience. As I held a cup of hot tea, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this moment. From that meltdown in the church to the revelations in the Watcher's nave and temple, my life had been transformed in ways I could never have imagined. What began as a frightening mystery had revealed itself as a gift, a calling to something greater than myself. My paintings, once expressions of mundane beauty, now carried layers of meaning that touched people in ways I never expected. I have often heard gallery visitors describe feelings of peace, hope, and clarity when viewing my works. I knew it wasn't just my talent, it was the energy I brought from the experience, flowing through each brushstroke. One day, while organizing a special exhibition called The Jewel of the Cosmos, in honor of the Earth and its interconnection with humanity, a young woman approached me. His eyes were full of tears. "I always felt lost," she said, "but seeing your painting, it's as if something inside me has awakened, as if there is hope despite everything." I hugged her, feeling again the depth of the mission that had been entrusted to me. It wasn't about convincing people to believe my story, but rather helping them discover their own connection to something bigger. As the months of 2025 passed, I began to see signs of the transformation the Watchers had promised. It was not an explosive process, but rather a subtle wave of changes. People were reconnecting with nature, building bridges instead of walls, and finding ways to live more lovingly and responsibly. It was a gradual but undeniable awakening. There were still challenges, of course. Resistance to the new was strong, and I often wondered if humanity could overcome its own vices and fears. But every time this doubt arose, I remembered the message I received on the ship. It all starts with love. This was the secret, the force that could transform not only the Earth, but also each of us. Now, as I share my story with you, I feel immense gratitude. Gratitude for having returned, for having received the gift of seeing beyond the veil, and for having had the chance to touch lives through art and words. My near-death experience wasn't just a glimpse of what lies beyond. It was a reminder that the here and now is where transformation begins. The future of humanity is still uncertain, but I know that every act of kindness, every moment of love, and every choice to care for our planet counts. We are all pieces of a big puzzle, and when we come together, we create something extraordinary. If you like this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.